Yo, what up? Toshi here. In today's video, we're going to talk about the sleeper character in the current meta in Honkai Star Rail. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday. I have in front of you Jade. Jade has been a very solid character ever since her introduction in Honkai Star Rail in 2.4. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe she was the second half of 2.4. That was the same patch with Yun Li. Again, correct me if I'm wrong here. I tend to forget which character released in the different patches, and the only reason why is because it's so hard to keep up with the amount of characters that are constantly getting released in Honkai Star. We get 2 new characters every patch. It is quite difficult to keep up with that. Jade is very strong for a number of reasons in the current meta in Honkai Star, and she's going to become even stronger in the coming patches. Now, the first thing we have to take into consideration about Jade is that she is an erudition character, right? Hoyoverse is hard shielding erudition characters right now in the current in-game contents. You look in Memory Chaos, and there is a bunch of mobs, hence AOE being extremely strong, right? They're trying to sell the Herda, which makes a ton of sense. That's where Jade comes into play and works extremely well alongside the Herda and Tribbie, who we'll go over later in the video, with her sheer amount of AOE and ability to do out-of-turn damage, which makes her extremely valuable with characters like Robin. Now, the interesting thing about Jade is that she is of the quantum elements. I actually do not have her build on right now because I did swap her relics from Seal. So let me do that right now. What makes Jade so powerful as a quantum character is not only with the amount of quantum weak enemies in the in-game contents, but also the fact that she's able to abuse the quantum set to the fullest, not just because of the quantum weak enemies in the in-game, but because she's a quantum character taking advantage of that quantum damage bonus. This character also really works nicely alongside the Duran set, which gives her a ton of extra crit damage and follow-up attack damage, which is where most of her damage source is going to come from outside of her main turn with the ultimate. The character is extremely strong because of these 2 relic sets that she's able to equip. It works extremely well in the current meta. And because she's a character that virtually works on the same stats as other quantum characters that also scale based off attack, like Seal for instance, you're able to take away your Seal's relics and give it to Jade, and she works really well. And one of the best things about this character, in my opinion, is that with one of her traces, she's able to start the action first, giving the elemental skill to the character she wants to put it on that has a lot of AoE attacks, which means you don't have to worry about speed as much as you do on other characters. Now, the 2 ways I've been playing this character as of recently has been hyper carry. One of them, right? Hyper carry is super good with Jade because she's one of the rare characters that actually abuses the full kit of Sparkle. She gets 45% attack because she is a quantum character, and she gets a ton of crit damage from Sparkle every time Sparkle pushes up the character's turn. And considering she has a follow-up attack, she's able to take advantage of that crit damage further with the fact that this character is able to utilize the out-of-turn damage boost provided by Sparkle because of how Sparkle's elemental skill works. And another thing furthermore is that Sparkle is able to give this character even more value with Planetary Rendezvous, which increases this character's damage even further. Having this increases her out-of-turn damage, which is very, very, very nice. And I also found with the new Relic set and the new Planar set, to give even more value to Jade. You're giving further crit damage and even more attack to this specific character, making her extremely strong for hyper carry purification stages. Again, I have this specific setup in the last video, which got me 40,000 points easily without even sweating, which honestly helped me clear this purification. Because purification is extremely hard to clear nowadays. And it helped my other team because my other team was severely struggling because my Rappa is not really that good compared to other Rappas, and my Harmony Trailblazer doesn't even have the 4th Eidolon unlocked. Now, back in the day, I used to use Jade alongside Seal for purification because she was able to give Seal even more speed, and Seal took a lot of turns and was killing enemies, and this is when the enemies had less HP, so she was a lot more viable. And she worked alongside this character because he gave Jade even further stacks towards her passive. And the 2 worked against enemies that were weak to quantum. But that doesn't really work that much anymore because, well, Seal is not really able to kill enemies without relying on buffs provided by more Harmony characters in the team, which Jade doesn't necessarily give you damage buffs, she just gives you speed, which isn't such a bad thing. She just really works well in dual DPS setups with characters that are also able to damage boost themselves or give themselves more damage funneling, right? So like the Herda, for instance. Now, my Herda is currently a work in progress, so I can't really show this character too much. And I actually do have a video for this character coming up in the near future, because I am doing a historical analysis on Jinglu. Tribbie is super good in the current meta, right? You get a ton of additional damage, you boost your allies' damage, you deal a ton of damage with this character, you give full team resistance penetration perma, right, for the whole battle. Some characters do that on an Eidolon. This character can do that with just her passive alone. Very, very, very strong character right now in the current meta. And considering you're going to get a lot of ultimates on Jade, you're going to dish out even more damage with Tribbie. So the game right now is centered around additional damage and AoE attacks. So that means, alongside Tribbie, you're doing a ton of quantum damage to the enemy. And the value of Jade goes up even further with Tribbie in the team. One last thing I want to mention is that you're dealing a ton of additional damage even if you don't have the passive stacked up with Jade, because of the additional damage she does deal with her skill alone on the character that attacks the enemies. So for AoE characters, this is huge. And considering Tribbie already does a ton of additional damage, you're dishing out more out of turn damage, which makes up a huge difference in the current in-game contents where enemies have a ton of HP. It seems like we're going into an additional damage meta with Tribbie and Jade being two of the best characters to use right now in the game. And what makes the AoE attacks super good right now is that, considering breaking the mobs in the current in-game content, especially Nicodor is a very good example of this, breaking the mobs deals additional damage to the enemy, which means AoE attacks just end up dealing even more damage, exponentially higher than single target damage dealers that are attacking enemies one by one, because you are dishing out all the damage at the same time while still attacking the main target, which is the boss. It's crazy how good the AoE characters are right now in every scenario, even scenarios that should favor blast and hunt characters. So that means right now, currently, one of the best teams you can use in the game features Jade alongside Tribbie with the Herda. And then, of course, you can put whatever defensive option you have on your account. And this team is very reliable for clearing the in-game contents, because you give the Herda speed she needs without having to really worry about this character having too much speed in the form of speed boots. Giving this character attack boost will increase her damage further, while giving the speed she needs from Jade. And then having whatever defensive option you have at your disposal makes this team even better. Some characters, like Gallagher, giving you more energy funneling to whoever you can funnel the energy to with quid pro quo is very nice. And then, of course, using other defensive options you may have in your account, or if you're someone who likes a zero cycle, that's also viable as well. But for me personally, I like to use Fuge 1 because I'm giving a ton of crit rate to the team, and she's, like, again, one of my favorite, probably my favorite defensive option to use in the current meta. But considering you have a lot of follow-up attacks in this team, Adventuring works really well. And you're increasing the crit damage the enemy takes as well too. So he's a current staple in this team for most players. And you're giving a ton of resistance to the team, which does help with resisting debuffs in the current in-game contents. Without Jade, the team feels a little bit weaker, and it's not to say you can't use other characters in place of Jade. Jade is just the best character you can use in that current team, alongside the Herda. And other options are coming out in the near future, where Jade can either be replaced or honestly work alongside that character. With Castor upcoming, Jade is going to be a nice staple alongside her. You now have a Quantum Remembrance character that does a ton of AoE damage, a lot of turns, a lot of out-of-action turns, joint attacks, right? Dual attacks, meaning that character is going to do attacks alongside your other characters, which means not only are you abusing the additional damage from Tribbie, but also you're taking advantage of the extra attacks Jade needs in order to get her passive up more consistently and dish out even more damage, which means you're going to find yourself using Castor more than the Herda in the Jade team. So therefore, the value of Jade goes up even further because her damage ceiling is going to go up higher. And while the Herda gives you a ton of crit damage, you are also getting a ton of stats from Castor in the form of damage boost. But you're buffing that character furthermore. Now, the interesting interaction with Castor right now is that since Jade gives you 30 speed, if you are currently equipping the new Relic set that decreases your speed and gives you a ton of crit rate for decreasing your speed, you're still able to keep that crit rate while getting the speed boost from Jade, which means once you enter the battle and your speed is still lower than the required amount and Jade gives you the speed boost, you're going to have even more actions and still take advantage of that extra crit rate. For Castors, that's massive because that's free perma speed from Jade, which means you're going to take more actions and just dish out even more damage. With that being said, I don't think Jade is a must-pull character, but she is one of the best characters in the current game, and I can say that without a doubt. Now, her value will go up even further as we get more AoE characters in the game. And of course, once Hoiver stops shielding AoE characters, this character will definitely fall off a cliff. But I definitely don't see that happening anytime soon, considering we are going into a AoE quantum meta, and we just have a ton of AoE characters in the game right now, which AoE needs to be pushed out because they are the easiest characters to sell to the player. I don't see us having a hunt meta anytime soon, and honestly, I don't see us having a hunt character probably until the next planet. That's it. That's the video here. I just want to talk about Jade because I forgot to mention her in the previous video when I went over all of the quantum characters in the upcoming quantum meta. How could I forget the literal best quantum character to use in the current meta? Even outside of the designated quantum teams, Jade is still a staple character. That's how valuable she is right now. That's it. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day.